Hello and welcome to the GGG podcast. I am Paul. We got a great show for you this week. Got a lot of stuff that has been coming out a little bit under the radar. Got a lot of news to dive into and very excited to get into our main topic. But as usual, I am joined by Phil over here. Phil, how are you doing? What's been going on?
Well, hi, hey, and hello there. I am very delighted to tell you that I've got some time to play video games this week.
Ooh.
And man, it has been lovely. What have I played Final Fantasy VII a little bit more.
Yes.
I played a good amount of a game we're going to talk about a little bit later called Unicorn Overlord. And I was able to actually play Helldivers for the first time in like a week.
Oh my goodness. Got to do your duty.
I got in a mech, and it was just real fun. And I played my first, not Helldivers, I think Extreme Mission.
Okay.
Hachimachi. What a good time.
Yeah. Just one more difficulty till you can get the super samples.
Ooh, finally.
Yes.
But yeah, what have you been playing this week, man?
Pretty much the same old. Been playing a lot of Helldivers with friends. Like, that's all my friends are playing right now. So if I want to play with them, I'm playing Helldivers. And also have been playing Skull and Bones. I have continued to play that.
Wow.
But it's very much a game that I will like put on a podcast while I'm playing it. Because again, I don't need to give it my full focus because I'm just sailing around. So if you're looking for a podcast to listen to while you're sailing around in Skull and Bones, please like and subscribe to the GGG podcast.
Disclaimer, we will take a big runny dump on Skull and Bones from time to time. I'm sorry. It's just what we do.
Well, and I'm sure if you're playing it, you would probably agree. So,
you know, I will say that like podcast games are a wonderful thing. I have been having the weirdest time because I feel like Final Fantasy VII is partially a podcast game. Great game to just sort of like, you run around the open
when you're
world,
side
you're
questing
killing random
a little
things.
bit.
Yeah, but then every now and again the game just like drops heavy story stuff, and it's like I find myself having to like get out of the podcast and be like, okay, what's Cloud saying? His dad. Wow. That it's just like the game kind of like lulls me to this false sense of we're not going to talk to you for 45 minutes. Like we normally do,
right.
And then all of a sudden I'm in a very long scene.
Yes.
So.
And then all of a sudden it's Death Stranding, and it's
yeah,
yes.
There's an extended Monster Energy drinking subquest and scene. Oh,
okay. And then I don't think I've really been playing anything else. Just a little sprinkling V Rising here and there with my girlfriend. A little bit of more Deep Rock. Survivor, but that's pretty much been it. Had kind of a busy week, so no, I haven't tried anything new. So hopefully this week I'm going to try something new. Get a little variety.
There we go
in my gaming diet. So,
well, speaking of new things this week, we got a chunky list of major game releases.
Yes. But let's start with the oldest thing on the list. Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collections coming out at the end of this week. I don't know if this was like false publicity when this collection was announced, or if people are genuinely excited about this collection. But cool, I guess. This is not, I don't know. Is this something you're excited for in any way?
No, Paul, I am not. I can't think of anything that I can't. Of all the Star Wars things, I can think of a lot of things I would want instead of Battlefront. Because we have like a Battlefront that works pretty good, and you can also get digital versions of most of the Battlefront games. Maybe, you don't even have to remaster KOTOR. Just let me play the old one on my PS5, which you might be able to do, but still.
You can play it on a lot of things. You can play it on iPads. You can play it on your phone.
I could play it on my way to work while I'm driving if I really wanted to.
Okay. Well.
I could.
Yes, you could.
I don't know. Weird timing for it. Weird game to like. I feel like if they tied it into a new season of The Mandalorian, or like I feel like they could have had something and dropped it with that. That said, there is currently a new season of I think, an animated Star Wars show that is very popular with like the prequel fandom. So
Yes.
maybe that's why.
I mean, I feel like Star Wars is always going to be in the media somewhere. So yeah, it's just like I own the original ones on Steam. Like if I wanted to play them, I could do that. I get that this is like a little remastered, but to me, if you are like a Battlefront fan, you have the newest Battlefront on your PC and you have it modded out, so you're playing with the things that you want to play with. And I think that Battlefront, at least the modding community of Battlefront, is still around. So I don't know. The only thing I could think of is like maybe they're testing the water to see if people are still interested in this franchise. But I could be totally projecting because I want Battlefront 3 to actually come out.
Yeah.
So yeah. There's that. All right. Well, moving right along. Next game on the list. This is a cozy garden game called Garden Life. It's very cozy first person, classic restoration, very first person Stardew Valley kind of a vibe, but I would say more on a focus of building and cultivating your garden. I know Stardew Valley is more about, I mean, it obviously is that as well, but also about, establishing
The
relationships.
ties.
Yeah, the social things, the cave diving and everything like that. So, cute game. Definitely something my girlfriend would definitely be interested in. I don't know about everybody else, so we'll see. We'll see how it does. I feel like the cozy market is getting, more and more saturated. I keep seeing all these cozy games coming out. So
there is a proliferation of the cozy currently that we are experiencing. I think I think a first person, like I was looking at some video of this game. First person is kind of cool because like in a lot of these instances you don't know when you're like watering a flower when it's ready, and I feel like Stardew does a pretty good job of like showing you. I feel like there's something to it that you could also recreate in real life, but something that is it's unserved. I feel like there's not a first-person shooter cozy game. So this is cool to see that like it's branching out into this variety. It would be great in VR.
Yeah, really great in VR. I was going to say, just for the cozy gamer, I think first-person is something that should be explored a little bit more, because I know with cozy games, like it's about, building up, collecting, and then of course decorating. And if you have a first-person game, I feel like you could get much more detailed in the decorating that you do, as opposed to being like Animal Crossing, where you're just, obviously there's a lot of detail you can do in Animal Crossing, not putting that down. But,
totally.
It's
but
like
there's certain slots where things can go.
Yeah, exactly. So, so I'm interested to see how much freedom there is in that game. Yeah. All right, let's keep moving on down the list. So we got a game called Highwater, indie game coming out, and it's an exploration game that takes place in the water on a boat. I'm not quite sure if it's like a apocalyptic setting where like the world has flooded, but it's
a water world, if you will.
A water world, if you will. But it looked very interesting. I thought the art style, looked really good. And also, I guess I just watching this kind of reminded me of Dave the Diver, even though it's not the same gameplay really at all.
It's got a very similar visual like flair. Maybe even if it's not the same style or like same type of visual, because that's like 8-bit, 16-bit style.
Yeah.
This looks like almost a 2.5D, like 3D game, but also with that same aesthetic, like the same proportions of people and colors. So I'd say it's a cousin to Dave the Diver.
Yeah.
Also, the water. All the water.
There's water in it, right? Water games.
Too much?
That's a niche,
IGN.
Right? Oh, that's good. All right, why don't you take the next
cool
one?
Joke from 2019. Yeah.
Because I know you're a huge fan of baseball. Just like let us hear it.
Here's the thing. If you know stuff about me, I'll have two things: Pokemon and baseball. I only kind of love Pokemon, and baseball is something that I played a lot in my youth. But the show 2024, sorry, MLB The Show 2024 is coming out. This is the PlayStation exclusive, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Which is kind of crazy that like the one baseball game that is sort of the Madden of baseball is on PlayStation. If I'm wrong about this, let me know, because I was pretty sure that's the case.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. So I don't know. There have been a number of baseball games that have come and gone. I know that Microsoft back in the day bought a bunch of baseball developers and then never made any games with them. So
Microsoft did that? No way.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, there hasn't really been a Madden or a 2K of baseball, and I think as I won't speak to baseball as a sport, in general in popularity, but as far as gaming goes, it's pretty far down the list. I feel like you got FIFA, you got 2K, you got Madden, even the NHL games. Like I feel are more popular than the baseball games. So, do you think sorry, go ahead.
Baseball is like not a game that you really need a lot of like the batting and the pitching, sure. But that's like the pitching is a strategic thing. The batting is reaction, and then like catching is just making sure you're running in the right direction and if it's possible. So, there's not a lot of like room for small really quick decisions unless it's batting. Like
So it's because of its nature of being a stagnated game. Okay. Yeah.
I think it makes it more difficult. That said, there's a lot of really great like arcadey baseball games that are very popular. Like even way back on the NES. Like I remember that baseball game was one of the things that I played most consistently. And up until recently, there's just like a lot of baseball games for kids that are, or ostensibly even for kids, like a baseball story, which is an RPG baseball game. But again, that's something I think that's a little bit bigger in Japan because baseball does have like a weirdly big following in Japan. Yeah. So
what about backyard baseball?
Backyard baseball, but that's like for the kiddies. Is that game educational? It feels like it's an educational game.
I don't even know. They haven't made those since I was a kid. Like I feel like
when you swing a bat, you have to answer one math problem, and then the animation goes through,
and then figure out where Carmen Sandiego is.
Exactly.
All right, and now for our last release this week, Phil, you added this one to the list.
I did.
Very interesting title. Please tell me about it.
So Unicorn Overlord, it actually dropped last week, and it is a tactics like strategy game that is turn-based, but also partially an auto-battler. I'll get back to that more in a second. It's if you think like Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics, it is that type of game. You play as like a sprite on an overworld, and then when you go into battles, it's these beautifully drawn, like anime-looking characters that duke it out in the combat. You get to pick up a bunch of different units. You evolve them, you grow them, you equip weaponry. It is strikingly good. They released a demo that I believe is around 6 hours of the game because there's just so much game.
Wow.
And I've been making my way through that. And at first, like, every little bit that I found out about it, I was like, okay, strategy game, that's kind of my jam. I found out there was kind of an auto-battler, like, the fights take place, even if you're watching them, like, you don't say, hey, you attack, hey, you block. The characters all have a set of things that they will do, and they automate depending on, like, what they're or what's needed. You're pretty much just deciding, like, their position and the party composition to, like, you're basically building a puzzle piece for, like, how to get through this enemy type. But man, is it addictive and fun and like fully voice acted and really pretty to look at.
Right on. What platforms is it on?
It's on everything. It's even available on the Nintendo Switch, which is kind of huge.
My goodness.
It's published by Atlas and made by Vanillaware of Dragon's Crown fame. And there's a couple other games, but Dragon's Crown is, I think, where they got their first big hit. So yeah. I would say if you're interested at all in like a strategy game, download the demo on whatever you can get it on, because it's a lot of the game to give you the idea of whether or not you're going to like it.
Right on. I love demos, man. Let's bring more demos back. Let's go. So
I feel like it's happening. Speaking of which, the Dragon's Dogma character creator thing.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen this?
Yes, I have. Yeah. all the characters. Bully McGuire's been there. Pikachu, Timothy Chalamet. Like I've seen all the, yeah.
Yeah, it's I feel like that is almost a demo as well, because they're just like, hey, try this part of the game out. Get our sense of humor by making a wacky monster.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to be like, try our character creator, and then don't get to play with it, so that you will be longing to play with your character that you made.
But for a lot of people, that's going to be a great, like, that's all the game they need. Just making a weird, wacky little perv.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get into our news. We got a lot of stuff to go through. So first up is The Finals, a multiplayer favorite of Phil and I's, is going into its second season, and that's going to be coming out, I believe, on Thursday, March 14th.
Nice.
So we're going to be getting that season very, very soon. And they're adding a lot of interesting things into the finals. I believe they're adding a private game mode. They're adding another game mode, which is 5v5, which sounds really interesting.
Nice.
They're adding new abilities, new weapons. It looks like the theme of the season is going to be like digital and hacking. And so they're adding portals to the game. Which kind of reminded me a little bit of Splitgate for people who are familiar with Splitgate. So, and even if you're not the person who puts the portal down, you can still go through it. So that's really great. I think they're also doing a thing where like you can, instead of blowing up a wall, you could hack your way through a wall because the environment is digital. And so
that's cool.
You can like make a wall disappear and then, shoot people. Check out the trailer for it. I'll try to link it in the description for season 2. But it looks like they're because obviously the popularity has waned a little bit, but looks like they're adding a lot. So that's always good to see. What do you think, Phil? Do you think you will, try this again for season 2 or has the finals passed?
Everything, I'll tell you what, it was not the final hour for the finals. Everything that I've seen from this bit of gameplay and what they're adding seems really cool, seems on brand. I love the idea that they released their game to pretty strong fanfare, but now, after like the initial hype has died down, we've had a Helldivers, we've had a Final Fantasy VII, we've had Sea of Thieves. Hey, you want to try a new power out in the finals? I know you know how to play the finals, right? Well, come check this out. You can hack your way through a wall.
Right.
I also love in the finals that the entire game is like taking place in a VR like simulation. So it totally makes sense that you would be able to hack your way through a wall. And man, just from the destructible physics and environment, like having portals to like just portal under the cash out box and make it drop somewhere else. So cool.
Yeah. That sounds really, really cool. I'm definitely going to play it again. I almost got through the first battle pass in the finals. And so I'm wondering, I do not know this off the top of my head, but I'm wondering if I'll be able to finish that battle pass if season 2 starts. So hopefully I will. Hopefully. So, but people excited for the finals? You should be, because it looks great.
The game keeps getting better and better. Smart of them to hold back a little bit so they could catch the hype again.
Yes, exactly. All right, next bit of news. We got Sea of Thieves pre-orders have gone live, and they're doing pre-orders on PS5, and they are doing very, very well, and they're currently outpacing sales of the Elden Ring DLC. Of course, that's exclusively on PS5. These numbers,
True.
That's where they're coming from. So a little salt, pinch of salt in there, but still very impressive. I'm astounded that so many people have just been like, God, I've been waiting to play Sea of Thieves specifically on PS5, and so I guess there's just a lot of people out there who they have a PS5 only.
A lot of pirates out there. Well, I think like Sea of Thieves has been I'm trying to think of the right way to. It's been a very like memeable game, and I think a lot of people have seen stuff from Sea of Thieves and like, what is that? And then people say it's only available on Xbox. And like, well. you become familiar with the name, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, I can get this now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want that silly pirate game. And to add to it, it is the best version of itself that it's ever been. Like, it's got all of the content that it didn't have at launch that I think hurt the initial prospects of Sea of Thieves. I think if Sea of Thieves launched in its current state for Xbox, a lot more people would have bought Xbox for Sea of Thieves.
Sure. Yeah. Honestly, it's one of their strongest titles. You know, it's not, I will admit, it's not really my thing, which is hilarious, seeing that I'm playing Skull and Bones. But yeah, I love all of these games, these like, you know, hangout games where it's like Lethal Company, or, you know, just like one of those where it's like, okay, we got to figure out how to get this mission done, kind of, or like Helldivers, honestly.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it's doing well. It's going to be, I believe it's going to be coming out April 14th, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's April 30th. Is
April
according to
30th.
this website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me. All right. So end of April.
Yeah, I've had some amazing times, and like it's weird because Sea of Thieves isn't the game where you progress a lot and like get a better ship. You just kind of can make your ship look wackier or like cooler. Yeah. Remember one time that I was playing and like me and my friends heard a voice on our ship and we're like, "What the hell's going on? Who is this?" And I guess while we were in town, someone had climbed on board our ship and used the lay down emote behind some boxes and was just making noise, and then like came out and sank our ship and swam off, and was just like. It was the most fun because we were playing hide and seek with this person for the longest time. Like, where the is this person?
That's crazy. Wow.
It's a very fun, silly game.
Yeah. Well, excited more people get to play it. And speaking of fun and silly games, Multiverses. Oh my goodness. It's relaunching. It's coming May 28th. This was probably Warner Brothers' most successful, I would say, games as a service launch that I've seen. Period. I would say, and surprisingly, it's because it was free to play. Wow.
Whoa, that's all you have to do. I mean, it's the basic drug dealers thing. Like, you give them the first taste for free.
Yeah.
You let them really enjoy it, and then you're like, hey, do you want to make Batman look like animated series Batman? Give me $25.
Exactly. So, but apparently they're adding a lot of features to the game, which is very exciting. They're also, I believe, they kind of heavily implied that they would be launching with 2 new characters to the roster of characters that had already come out in the beta. Those characters being Marvin the Martian and Harley Quinn, which I believe were not in the beta.
Harley Quinn was.
Harley Quinn was. Okay, well then just Marvin the Martian is being added. They also talked about how the game has been rebuilt in Unreal Engine 5. Which is interesting, but I think it's smart if they're playing this as a live service and a long-term investment. You want a game that is built in a reliable engine that can be updated, frequently and easily, and that's what you're going to get out of Unreal 5. So that's interesting as well. I know that they're adding like versus AI, they're adding private matches. It kind of just feels like, hey, we took the time to flesh this out so that it actually has some modes like Smash Brothers, and it's not just this online slugfest
game. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I had a lot of fun with Multiverses, although I think they hit a point where it was like, okay, what am I coming back for? Just new characters, just this, just that. So them having added more to it sounds good. I'm just really excited for the Ted Lasso. So there was a leak, allegedly, that they were going to make a Ted Lasso character since he falls under the Warner Brothers umbrella.
Wow.
And I will come back for that and that alone. You hear me, Warner Brothers? You hear me, David Zaslav? Put Ted Lasso in Multiverses. You coward.
Are there any like non-cartoony characters in Multiverses? I mean, there's LeBron James, but he's the Looney Tunes LeBron James. He's not like,
like photorealistic.
He's not like the 2K model. Like,
Well, Arya Stark from Game of Thrones. You've
that's a
also
good one.
got, yeah, you've got like Rick and Morty. They're cartoons, but like adult cartoons. And then you've got Gizmo and Stripe from Gremlins, which is, I know they are basically cartoons, but they are typically live action. Yeah, I don't know. And then Black Adam. So all of the superhero characters, but then Black Adam, who kind of explicitly looks like The Rock, and his version of Black Adam. So they've got like a weird mix of like either really old Warner Brothers IP or really new Warner Brothers IP.
Sure.
And not much in the middle.
Sure. Any characters aside from Ted Lasso or franchises that you could see them throwing into this multiverses?
Ooh, that's a good one. I mean, like they've obviously got Game of Thrones. I think White Lotus is a Warner Brothers property. Have you seen that show?
What, like the hotel, the White Lotus?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on HBO. Like who?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
The gays are trying to kill me character. I want her. I can't remember her name.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
That's what I would want. I want to see them do like really inventive ways to have these characters fight. Like, obviously this character doesn't seem like they should normally fight. Let's see them in a scenario where they have to fight.
Right. Oh my goodness.
I mean, King Kong and Godzilla are also Warner Brothers. That would be great to see, but whatever.
Yeah. But I mean, Cartoon Network is Warner Brothers, are they not?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's got to be like some cartoon. What about like Invader Zim or something like that?
So he's Nickelodeon. He's in the Nickelodeon Brawl. Right. But Dexter's Lab would be a pretty great ad.
Ooh, Dexter, yeah. I keep thinking of Nickelodeon characters. I just went to Cat Dog in my head.
That's Cat Dog's in the other fighting.
Yeah.
It's weird they have like the same version, just like when we were children and they were fighting for airtime. What? Samurai Jack, right?
Ooh, excellent choice.
There we go.
Excellent choice. Oh, that's easy. Oh, get Samurai Jack in there. Let's go. Oh my goodness.
You could do like an Ice Climbers with the Powerpuff Girls, like all three of them. Sorry, we were just gonna pitch ideas for the rest of the show.
Oh my god, yeah. There's a lot of characters that they could throw in there. So I'm excited for the relaunch. I played it a bit. I unlocked a couple of the characters. Got Rick and Morty, and I unlocked LeBron and that kind of stuff. So that's cool, and I will see what people think when it relaunches as to whether I re-download it or not. So yeah. All right. Well, pressing right along, something I am very, very excited for is Ghost of Tsushima coming to PC, following Sony's trend with doing its PC launches. For at least its delayed PC launches for all their single player games. So that's very exciting. It seems to be pre-orders is selling pretty well. And along with this announcement, there have been some little speckles, some little flakes and dusties in the air of Ghost of Tsushima 2 rumors, which they have to be working on because...
Which they also have to call Ghost of Tsushima. Thank you for that. I just want to pause the podcast right now if you need to laugh for 10 minutes. You're welcome.
Yeah, but only 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of this game. Phil, I think you are as well. I think this was an incredibly underrated game. Was it absolutely perfect? No, it wasn't. But for being a new IP, I thought just the combat was just so good, and it was, complicated enough. It kind of felt like God of War, like where it could get really complicated if you wanted it to be really complicated, but it wasn't an impossible thing to learn. So yeah, very, very excited.
That's a excellent game. It was the same developers who did Infamous. Yeah. Really excellent studio. I feel like the game was pretty, like everyone that I know that's played it loved it, but I still think that even with that it's underrated. Like just not enough people know about it. So the chance that more people get to play it is pretty great because it has got some of the best sword combat that I've seen in a video game. Like, it makes your sword feel deadly, and it makes every duel feel like really tense. And then, like, the movement and just the world, like the fact that there was so much that was not HUD related, but that you could pick up by, like, the wind is going this way. This bird is going to lead me to a cool thing.
Right.
Yeah, just UI, it was on a next level. So I'm excited to see that. And, like, of course, they better make a second one. Unless they give me another Infamous game. This is what you're working on, guys.
No, they're totally working on this. I'm curious to see if they get off. They probably have to get off of the island of Tsushima.
Yeah.
So do you have the main character going to mainland Japan? I think they're historically they're trying to base it on historical events. You've taken some liberties, obviously, with specific characters. But I do know that historically there are other events within the time frame that they could, base the game on or base the game around, kind of like what Assassin's Creed does. So very curious, super stoked that PC players are going to be able to play this game. I think while the game does not have the best graphics ever, it still has really good graphics. I think it's still one of the prettiest games you're ever going to play. Just the lighting, the fog effects, the vegetation, people are going to love it, especially when it's cranked up to max settings on their PC. So
Yeah, I think that's the case of, like, the original Mario game. Mario?
You said Mario.
The original
Oh my
Mario,
God.
the original Mario game, is that that game is always going to look good despite the graphic. Like, the art setting or the artistic attachment to it is completely its own thing. It doesn't matter how it looks because it's always going to look as they intended it. So,
Right.
Yeah, very excited about that.
Very, very excited.
Well, let's talk about another new game coming on behalf of a game that we are from a studio that made a game that we are both pretty big fans of. New game studio coming from the Jedi Survivor director. Paul, tell me more about this because I have not heard about this story.
Yeah, so there is no specific game that has been announced, but the director who had worked on Jedi Survivor, I believe he also used to work for PlayStation as well, but he is starting his own studio. It's called Giant Skull Games, and they are going to be focused on AAA single player adventure games, and that's what they want to do. So, like, and given how good Jedi Survivor was, and I think Jedi Survivor was a huge step forward from Fallen Order, especially when it came to telling a story. I thought the cutscenes were really good, the action sequences were really good. I know some people still don't like the Dark Souls-y stuff in it, which is fine, but I feel like they eased up on it enough that it was good. But I'm just excited that people are interested in making AAA single player games as opposed to this games as a service is the only way to do video games. And it's just, it's not. I feel like that's what people who do not work in the industry and they're looking at video games as a way, as commerce, which of course it is, but just as like, how do I make money? How do I be Netflix but video games or something like that? And
Yeah,
so
I think there's like, we're in this weird state with gaming where it used to be that you had to jam a multiplayer version of something into every game, and now it's games as a service. Like the gaming studios go through these trends of like, well, we got to make sure we do this, we got to make sure we do that, and seeing that like a game that made a studio director that made such a great game that was just single player, just a story you got to experience, and the replayability was just that you wanted to play more of that and experience it again, is a huge vote of confidence that I think a lot of games don't have for some reason. A lot of game developers don't have.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So it's good to see somebody leading the charge, someone starting his own studio. It's freaking awesome. I love it. Should also be noted, the company's based in Los Angeles, so it's in our neck of the woods. And
Ooh.
they have veterans who worked on the Star Wars Jedi series, as well as people who used to work at Fortnite, or
Oh,
on
interesting.
Fortnite at Epic.
Yeah.
I would probably venture a guess that this is going to be another Unreal Engine 5 video game. But it's a great engine,
Yeah.
works really well.
I see Unreal 5 and I get excited. I'm like, "Oh, you guys can make this look real good." And
Yeah.
then if you know how to pilot it, do whatever you want. Yeah, no, that's really good news and really cool that there are jobs in the game industry at this new studio. Like that
Yes.
someone is rising up and making work for people. It's great.
Absolutely. All right, so last on our agenda, this is just a really little teeny tiny quick story, but Street Fighter and Monsterhunter are having a collaboration, celebration of the 20th anniversary, I believe, of Monsterhunter. So in Street Fighter, you can. I believe it's like a skin you can have where you look like one of the armor sets from Monster Hunter, and you can actually fight as a Monster Hunter character in Street Fighter, which is very exciting. I also know that there's like a hub area where there's like a giant statue of one of the classic Monster Hunter monsters and some palicos and stuff like that. So if you're a fan of these two franchises, this is like perfectly set up for you. Just a fun little community event. Monster Hunter does so many events. I don't know how Street Fighter is doing with pumping those out, but another fun little thing. So
Yeah.
yippee.
I think the only thing that my brain immediately says to me about this is like, okay, can we expect some Monster Hunter Wilds news soon? But probably not. I think Capcom just kind of does their own thing where it's like, hey, here's a Witcher crossover, deal with it. And we're like, oh, okay.
I mean, I almost kind of like it that way sometimes.
Yeah.
So instead of telling us it's going to come out in 2 years and then it gets delayed to 4 years and then we finally get it and we're like, meh. So
Yeah. But it's like, here, it's ready now. What is this? Don't worry, just play it.
just do it.
Yeah, it's great. So I guess let's move on to the main story, right?
Yes, absolutely. Let's do it. I am very excited to talk about it. We have talked a lot of Helldivers over this last month, I would say. But Helldivers continues to be in the news. It continues to trend. It continues to be the number one game on social media and everywhere around. And so I kind of want to talk about it and talk about something that's going on with the community, but something that also, I guess, affects the entire gamerverse. And that is the community is kind of torn, and the studio Arrowhead that makes Helldivers 2 is kind of torn with the meta. And usually when it comes to cooperative games like Helldivers, the meta isn't necessarily always the most important thing because you're not actually competing against other people. But the way that Helldivers is set up, players are arguing and kicking players, booting players from matches because they are not using meta loadouts, and what the community has decided is the best weapon and the best orbital and the best backpack and the best turret and all that kind of stuff. And so I wanted to talk about, what's kind of sucks about having a meta, and then why Helldivers is running into this issue in the first place. Or is it just gamers being too persnickety about things? Do you have any initial thoughts before we get into it, Phil, when it comes to like the meta or metas in games?
Well, I don't think that gamers are a persnickety bunch as a group. Yeah, I think the meta can be fun for a certain level of play, right? Mm-hmm. I play a lot of Magic the Gathering, and when I play online, that like every season there is a new meta of like this card combination or this deck exactly is like how you win, and that can be fun if you like just want to win the most games. Great, if that's what you're here for, sure.
Right.
But I'd much prefer to see someone with like kind of a crazy deck combination come in and maybe not win every time, or if I play that deck, I don't win every time, but when I do, oh man, it's so much fun. And I think the meta for fighting games is different from the meta for a cooperative game.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think metas in games can be really fun as long as they are like siphoned off into a particular little corner of what's going on.
Sure.
Because it can really ruin the fun for everyone who's not like fully up to date on the game's Reddit and the Twitter and
yeah.
Yeah.
There's always a population of the players who are not going to be on the Reddit, who are not going to be on the Discord, who they don't know. They're figuring it out, and that's fine. I think like I get there's always going to be metas in games that allow you to pick your loadout or allow you to do a build of a character. There's always going to be metas because there's always going to be people who are like, what's the most efficient? What is the, number one way to do this? And I get that. And so it's kind of an unavoidable problem in modern gaming. But I guess, so I find that a little bit annoying on a personal note, but I also do understand. Like, I wouldn't boot somebody because I thought they brought the wrong loadout in Helldivers. But I would get annoyed because, like, especially when you're playing on the upper levels, the upper difficulty levels, like, I've been in matches, and maybe you've experienced this as well, where, like, there's just a bunch of chargers running around, for the Terminids. And it's like nobody brought something to deal with them. And because of that, it's like you're having a real hard time progressing the mission or staying together as a group or like, doing that kind of a thing because so many of the weapons in Helldivers, aren't armor penetrating. And so I think that the updates that they have made to the game recently, I know that they've stealthily upgraded the recoilless rifle. They stealthily upgraded the disposable anti-tank. So now, like, when you shoot them at a charger, they will penetrate heavy armor now, which is fantastic, which is what they should have done in the first place.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
But there's a lot of weapons that if you just brought the wrong loadout, you can't kill the Bile Titan. You can't kill the charger. You can't kill the tank if you're fighting the bots. And so I don't know. It's complicated because I feel like both sides are a little valid, and Helldivers, the more of the weapons need to be not nerfed, but kind of upgraded, I feel like.
Yeah, I think that they nerfed recently Breaker Shotgun because everybody was using it, and they wanted to make sure that, like, this wasn't a meta. It was the best gun.
It's the best gun.
It still is probably up there. They
Yeah.
also nerfed the shield backpack. And I do kind of find myself like getting a little bit annoyed. I guess just that we ruined it. But what I would really like is, hey, people are finding that this 3-shot assault rifle isn't actually doing anything in most combat scenarios, even against like the not the Terminids, the robots. You're doing more precise shooting, but they're shooting at you, so your shooting isn't precise. Like, I would like something that just buffed those interactions a little bit more. And I know Helldivers isn't about feeling like badass all the time. Like, you have the right solution. It's kind of like making stuff up as you go and barely pulling a win out of a hat. But I would just like it if, I don't know, like the armor piercing. Armor is such a big thing in that game and makes you contend with it on such a regular basis that I would like it if there was a way that you could build around it more consistently. Because even the what is it, the autocannon or auto turret, the one that you have like a backpack for and someone can like
got the bullets.
That one still isn't great against chargers. It still isn't great against.
It would be great if that could do some damage to chargers as well, like it does if you hit them like in their soft spot. But if you're being chased by one, you can't really. But and
you
again,
are SOL.
I will say that, like, there are people who are on the internet who are complaining too much. It's like you are kind of missing the point of Helldivers. You are supposed to die a bunch of times. They don't take any points away from you in the end screen if you die, the maximum amount of times. You don't get any nothing in your score or nothing in the rewards that it gives you subtracts from that. So if you're playing on Helldive and you're like, this is hard, it's like, well, it's because it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be hard. You're supposed to die a bunch, and so there is a popular streamer named Thor, or that's his handle or whatever. I'm not very familiar with him.
Could be both.
But he is constantly talking about how Helldivers 2 is massively scaled against the player and how that sucks. And he wouldn't recommend buying the game right now. Meanwhile, he's level 50. And has played it into oblivion. And so, I maxed out the level. I wouldn't recommend this game. Okay.
I've done everything to make sure that I could fight back. I mean, people say the same thing about Dark Souls games and Elden Ring. Like, no, that's the type of game that it is.
Yeah.
This game is like that, but it is a cooperative shooter. And it's just so interesting that people want to, in their wish fulfillment of this game, or their escape time of this game, to be like an unstoppable RoboCop. But
you're not Master Chief.
That's not the game.
Yeah.
You're just chief. You're just Chief Masters, and you're out there trying to survive. And I think that is the kind of issue, is that the meta can take out the fun because it takes out the unpredictability of those interactions. Like when you have one laser left and a Bile Titan shows up and you crack it, that feels way better than being like, oh, a Bile Titan's here, let me just do this and that'll take care of it. It's better when you are running for your life and barely pull out that win. And I think Helldivers is designed to create that scenario over and over again. They just recently released that the Terminids can actually smell you.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So they have a lot of stuff that is just built into this game to make it more of a challenge. And I don't think that it's stacked against the player. I think it's just that pushing against that resistance, that pushing against that unknown is literally what a game is.
Yeah, completely. And it's like, I know that they released an update today where they have lowered the amount of chargers and Bile Titans that will spawn. But that means that they're going to make up for it in like the hunters. And warriors and the little guys chasing you.
And the spitters, yeah.
And so it's just like awesome. Like I don't... and so I guess Arrowhead's kind of at a loss in the Discord, but they're communicating with the community about it. And they've flat out asked the community, like, what can we do to prevent players from being like meta elitists, where it's like you have to have a railgun, you have to have a shield backpack, and if you didn't bring those two things, get out of the match. And so I like that they're communicating, with ideas. If you have ideas on how to balance it or what you think they should do, go to their Discord, go to the Helldivers 2 Discord, and give them some ideas.
Or tell it to us so that we can say it and look cool.
Yeah.
And then we'll be like, you're part of the GGG Nation, baby.
The Nation.
The Nation.
Right on. But yeah.
That game's going to continue to be fun no matter what. Like, I guess the best case scenario, and my personal way of doing it, is just like always kind of play with people if possible. Mm-hmm. It makes the game like, $120 if you want to buy it for all of your friends and yourself, or like a 4-pack of your friends.
Yeah.
But I think that is the best, because playing with randos can be really fun, but I have a lot more fun when I'm like just talking with my buds, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I can't say anything else. There's a Bile Titan here.
Yeah.
Come help.
Yeah, and I would recommend, like, if you are playing with randos, I know, social anxiety and everything, but, you got to get into voice chat and you got to talk to them. And if you're someone who's complaining and you never get in voice chat and you never engage, it's like, look, I get it. I don't want to talk to every guy who plays the same game that I do, but like, it's a team-based game. And at the bare minimum, like, just do the like the voice commands that you can do in the game with like affirmative or negative or whatever. So you use those. But yeah, I believe there's a new community event that's starting in Helldivers today. I believe that the Universal Mech stratagem has been pulled officially today.
Oh, cool.
So you can still obviously call down mechs, but you have to have it as a stratagem that you lock in at the beginning of the match.
Yeah, it has to be. You have to be level 25 now.
Yes. So that's interesting. I know that they're gonna Helldivers. It just keeps getting better. They keep updating it, which is great. I would say like one of the best things. I understand that this game had a lot of problems with the servers when it first came out, but they have continued to update this game and update it frequently. Like we got mechs last week. This upcoming week, we're going to get the new War Bond, which has new weapons, new armor sets, some new abilities in there. So that's very exciting.
That's pretty much the new battle pass. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the new battle.
I wonder if they'll leave the old one in, because that would be really cool to see that stick around.
Oh, I think it's going to be like you can access any War Bond, because I mean, why wouldn't you? Because you're just going to like not make the product available when people will pay for it. So
yeah, but I mean that's a lot of times what battle passes kind of do. Like, oh, you didn't unlock this, too bad. That said, again, it's Helldivers, and Arrowhead has been doing things very differently in a very positive way. So
yeah, and I will say like most battle passes don't have weapons in them. They have like weapon skins, and so it's like you want to make sure that the weapons are available for people to unlock. So yeah, hopefully they don't take anything out of the game, because that obviously is a huge bummer for everybody.
Very sad.
Yeah, but anyway, are you? I guess like I'm pro the meta if you're doing like difficulty 7 and above. And if you're not doing that, like let him bring a beam cannon or whatever it is. Like, who cares? Like the point of them nerfing the break. I love the breaker. The breaker was so clearly the best primary weapon in the game. It was like easily the best weapon. They nerfed it because they want people to try other weapons, because they don't want you to play with the same weapon over and over and over again. And so, they'll continue to make tweaks, but they try other things. Just mess around with it.
There's lots of good stuff in that game. They put a lot of time into everything they did, so try it all.
Yes.
I feel like when I go to a restaurant now, this is a weird thing, but like when I order something, I don't make any alterations unless dietarily I can't eat something, because I want to experience it as the chef created. And
right.
For video games, that is very similar. They want you to experience the entirety of it, not just like, all right, I found the optimal gun and the optimal, turret, and that.
And like, if you're not using it, you're an idiot. And why do you even play this game? Uninstall.
Well, the other thing is other people need to like level up. Like if you start doing that to people who are like level 10 and just kicking them on every mission, it's like they don't have access to the thing that you.
Yeah. I would say also just like what I do is like I do not play the higher difficulties with random people. Like if I want to set up a night, be like, all right, everybody, we're going to get on Saturday afternoon, and we're going to do the higher difficulty stuff where you like are playing with people and you can coordinate. That's what you should be doing. And if you're just like, quick match queuing in that game, like probably
maybe hard.
Yeah, probably do hard and below. Like do hard and below, or do a solo mission on easy or medium or something like that. I don't know. So yeah. So I watched. Sorry, one last thing. I saw a video of someone do a Helldive mission, a solo Helldive mission, by themselves. So,
well, that person's probably the most patriotic person.
Yes,
so that's
they are.
Probably why they did it. Yeah.
So it's possible. It's possible. And he didn't have any crazy build or anything. Like
he just grit his teeth and did it. No, I'm so excited that Helldivers at least has caused this much of a discussion. I guess if something has caused a problem, that it's so ubiquitous that everyone is playing it, and we all are just like aware of that thing, and they are addressing it because it is such a big problem amongst the player base, which means it's a big player base.
Yeah. Very big player base.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, any more thoughts about metas in general in gaming, or?
I think in competitive games, metas make some sense.
Yeah.
So long as there is also someone out there always trying to crack the meta and make a new meta.
Mm-hmm.
And updates like Fortnite does this a lot, where they'll update and change some weapons, so you have to find a new meta for this is the build you want, this is the set of guns that you want.
Right.
And I think that they can be fun so long as they're not like strangling the game. And I feel like maybe in this case this was kind of like a strangling the game, like a turtleneck, and it was just to make it a little hard to breathe.
Sure.
But I think as long as the game is evolving, a meta can be a good thing, so that everyone gets a chance. Let's say you're better with sniper rifles in Fortnite. There's a really great sniper season. Okay, great. You're better with shotguns. There's a really great shot. Like, everyone gets time to shine.
Right.
Something
interesting I want to bring up, just because the games are very similar, is Deep Rock Galactic. I'm a huge Deep Rock Galactic fan. If you are a Helldivers player and you've never played Deep Rock Galactic, go get it or go play it somehow. The thing that I will acknowledge about Deep Rock Galactic that is not necessarily true in Helldivers is that in Deep Rock Galactic, no matter what weapons you are using, no matter what loadout you've gone with, you have the firepower to do damage to all enemies in that game. There are not these specific enemies that have these specific armors and whatnot. So I think in general, if the Helldivers continues to change anything, it's just we just need more armor-piercing weapons. They don't all have to be armor-piercing weapons, but I feel like most of the weapons are not currently. And if you're going to have armor types, you got to give us the tools to take out that armor. So yeah.
Oh. How do I do this?
How do you do this?
Something happened.
Oh my goodness.
That I feel like is kind of big. But we are at the end of the show.
Yes. You got time.
There was a trailer leaked for Spider-Man: The Great Web, which is a video game. It is the canceled video game that was like the multiplayer Spider-Man game.
Oh, okay.
So if you've played spoilers, Spider-Man 2, there is a bit where you're collecting spider bots throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then that leads to like the end of that mission. You see like into the Spider-Verse. You see a portal opens up. Blah, blah, blah. But basically there was a multiplayer Spider-Man game that was set to be released that had you swinging around New York with 5 other Spider people. And then also going into portals to do like special missions in like Toon Spider-Man World or Spider-Man Noir World.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The trailer is out there currently. It seems like it pretty heavily features Miles, Ben Reilly, Miguel O'Hara, Gwen, and Peter. And those are the Spider-Man you would have played. It seems like the game is canned. I'm hoping that maybe this turns up in Spider-Man 3 as like an alternate.
Who was making it? It was attached to Sony.
It was Insomniac.
Insomniac. So it was a separate game, or was this like a mode?
It was a separate game that was going to be released as a games of service. So part of that sort of Sony games of service purge that happened. This was a chunk of that. But based on the trailer, I just saw it on the Spider-Man 2 Reddit as I was scrolling for any last bits. Part of that trailer is just, it looks like the full-on Spider-Man 2 game, but just multiplayer, which is pretty cool.
Okay, well that is very, very interesting. I will have to go and check out the trailer after we're done.
Sorry I didn't drop that earlier.
No. I didn't hear anything about it today. So very, very interesting. But with that, we are out of time. So we're going to wrap it up here for the GGG podcast. If you've listened to the whole thing, thank you so much. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do so, or follow us through our audio version on whatever podcast service you listen to. But thank you for joining me this week, Phil. Glad to, as always, to talk video games and to talk a lot of Helldivers, because it continues. Yeah. The Galactic War wages on.
It's always a pleasure, my Patriot friend.
Yes. All right. Well, everybody have a good week. Have a great weekend, and peace out.